Bourbon drinkers are breathing a sigh of relief. Kentucky authorities have cracked a ring of bandits believed to be responsible for stealing tens of thousands of dollars worth of top shelf stuff. Bourbon has become very popular among a new generation of drinkers. Fred Minnick, author of the book Bourbon Curious, a simple tasting guide for the savvy drinker, joins us now from Louisville to explain. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit of a bourbon novice here. I didn't even realize there was this trend. By the way, you're looking very dapper. I like the ascot.
Thank you.
So listen, bourbon is so popular that people are willing to steal it?
Yeah, bourbon is a victim of its own success. And Pappy Van Winkle is right there in the center of it. People go to the store and there'll be long lines out the door, just like an iPhone release, but there'll be only one bottle picked up. It's the same for like the Four Roses limited editions, the Maker's Mark Cask Strength, and the Buffalo Trace antique products. Bourbon, the super premium products, liquor stores just cannot keep them in stock. The demand is through the roof, and the distillers cannot keep up with demand. It is so hot right now.
When I think of bourbon, I think of sort of like an old-timey drink. I don't know if it was around during Prohibition, but I think of that era. And then it seemed to have died off, but there's a resurgence now, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to point out what happened to bourbon. After Prohibition, bourbon was hot. Everybody was building a distillery. Companies were, investing heavily in Kentucky to make bourbon. Then World War II hit, and the government required distilleries to make industrial alcohol for the war movement. And this basically killed the family distilleries. And after World War II, the only distilleries that could survive are families that have significant capital or those that were part of conglomerates. And then coming into the 1960s, James Bond says he wants a martini, shaken not stirred, and that generation completely forgets about bourbon and starts going after the white spirits. Going into the 90s, there was this incredible resurgence of bourbon, and that fed into the new millennium where you had distillers doing these new experiments, finishing in port casks and cognac casks, and creating new flavor profiles that people had never been able to taste before. Yeah. And so with the new millennium, you had Generation X and you had the millennials tasting bourbon that was completely different than what their grandfathers drank. And this is totally tailspin of what we have today. And you have females making up about 40% of the market share for bourbon drinkers.
Yeah, it's funny you would bring up women, because I thought to myself when I was reading about bourbon that it seems that when women get turned on to a particular type of alcohol, it helps push the popularity. I'm thinking of vodka, and I looked it up, and there is a Bourbon Women's Association, and you think of bourbon as a masculine drink. What do you think the appeal is for women?
I actually wrote the book, Whiskey Women, and the fact is women love taste. Women have better taste buds than men, they have better smells, they can smell better than men, and they just want to taste something. The definition of vodka is odorless and tasteless. Bourbon is delicious. It's loaded with caramels and vanillas, nutmegs. It's got baking spices all throughout. And so it's a natural pairing for women to, take on bourbon.
I'm not going to argue with you on that point. If you say we, have more advanced taste buds, I'm down with that. What about outside of this country? I mean, bourbon is a very American drink. Is it becoming popular outside of America?
Exports are through the roof. Even small brands like Michter's are in 19 countries. You have distilleries focusing on China and Japan. Australia consumes wild turkey like it's water. You have every country trying to get bourbon and get it into their liquor stores as much as possible. It's hot across the world. And in fact, that increased demand is a big reason why domestic liquor stores are unable to stock a lot of the bourbons they were able to 10, 12 years ago.
Okay, and all this talk about the popularity of bourbon, one thing that we haven't done is talk about what bourbon is. We know it's a whiskey. What makes bourbon different than other whiskeys?
There's a lot of reasons about why bourbon is bourbon, but the most important piece is it has to go into a new charred oak barrel every single time. So unlike Scotch, which can use used barrels, bourbon has to use a new barrel, and so the barrel acts like a Brita filter, and it filters out a lot of the unwanted properties in the spirit, and it actually chemically changes the spirit from it's clear as the water in your tap, and it comes out really russet to caramel color. That's the barrel, giving it all the aromas and the color and those beautiful caramel and vanilla notes we come to know and love in bourbon.
All right. Fred Minnick, author of Bourbon Curious, a simple tasting guide for the savvy drinker. This is a man who knows his bourbon. Next time you're in New York, I want a tasting, right? We'll go out. Thanks for joining us from Louisville.
You got it.